Hey everyone out there, my name is Dragnix, and I'd like to welcome you to Modspective, a look on how mods and user-generated content in modern-day games can transform and extend a game's gameplay beyond its initial rendition. This series is to highlight the mods, the maps, and even game transformations that can fix a game's perceived problems, or even change the gameplay so much that it feels entirely new, like a whole new game. On top of that, I'd like to give credit to the mod creators who have created these mods for a variety of reasons, but have let us enjoy the fruits of their labor. Why? Because it's communities that make gaming as strong as it is today, and those people who spend their time making experiences that are a joy to behold should be highlighted and praised for their efforts. The game I'll be starting this series off with is Torchlight 2. Torchlight 2 was originally released in September 2012 by Runic Games. For anyone who doesn't know, Torchlight 2 harks back to the days of Diablo 2, an action RPG with randomly generated dungeons and lots of random loot. One may wonder why I would start with a game like this regarding Modspective. While the base game can sometimes be repetitive in nature, it is a dungeon crawler after all. Even games like Torchlight 2 can be made anew with one simple mod. When rediscovering Torchlight 2 and these new mods, it felt like a whole new DLC pack was released, and for free. And that's the key word, free. Modspective is here to point out getting value out of games once cast aside, to rediscover them in a new light. Let's get right into it. Let's start with one of the biggest mods, the Synergies mod, created by Solin and a group of devs. It won a Best Overhaul of the Year award from ModDB in 2013, as well as being labeled the #1 free download of the summer from PC Gamer magazine in 2013 as well. So what is Synergies? Well, it's an overhaul mod. The game's world and its rules have been changed enough to create a whole new challenge, as well as having a lot more additional content, especially at the end of the game. First of all, the game is much more difficult.
Badly wounded.
While the vanilla Torchlight 2 harder difficulties provided a challenge at times, you could still reasonably get through the game without many problems. This mod makes the enemies tougher, especially the boss level monsters. The mobs' numbers have also been reasonably increased in the mod, having a lot more monsters on screen and a lot more enemies to deal with at one time. It can be overwhelming, even when the mobs are a lot lower level than you, as so many sources of damage at once can turn into death very quickly if you're not careful. But overwhelming in a good way, as each mob now feels like a challenge, not just another set of fodder to get through. If it's too challenging, you can even modify Synergies with another low spawn rate mod. One of the vastly missing features in the vanilla Torchlight 2 was the lack of a respecking option. Sure, you had a vendor that would refund the last 3 skill points you had allocated for a price, or use a console command to do so, but they would flag your character as suspicious on multiplayer. That's not the case in Synergies with respec potions available. Being able to easily give a try to another branch or completely changing up your strategy for a dungeon is now possible, without the additional grind that would have been needed to level up a new character. Several new areas and towns are available in the Synergies mod, mainly being Sur Rock and Table Mountain. Table Mountain leads to more endgame content, with additional dungeons and even endgame raid dungeons. Diranku Raid, the dungeon which I will not be able to pronounce if my life depended on it, adds a bunch of new bosses, including Kite the Dragon Rider and Morg the Murderer. I would recommend doing it with friends, as I died repeatedly on the dungeon's bosses when taking them on solo for the first time. The dungeon's monsters are level 105 and can kill you in one hit if you're not careful. But on the other hand, these bosses drop some of the legendary loot specific to Synergies, as well as some of the legendary skulls specific to Synergies. Table Mountain also has more than the endgame raid. There's a bunch of good NPCs here, including specific enchanters like Fire, Attribute, and Luck, pet merchants, and unique item vendors. 2 other dungeons that are not endgame raids are also present in the Deserted Gold Mine and Aurak Pass. There are also a couple of other mods beyond Synergies to look at. Extra Chunky by Abe adds more level chunks for the randomly generated dungeons. They keep things fresh, even for the random dungeons. Adventure Pack 2, created by PWNK, has 2 new acts, 7 new side quests, some more bosses, and more new areas to explore, just piling on the content to explore, making what was a deep game even longer. With 4 beginning classes in the game, playing through these classes over and over again may get dull, especially if the playstyle that you want doesn't exist as a viable build of those classes. Well, the Torchlight modding community has brought a variety of classes, from the hilarious to the downright exhilarating. Starting off, I'm highlighting the Haknslash Essentials pack, maintained by the users Haknslash and Zalex. While this is a combination of a bunch of other users' creations, it's a helpfully maintained package by the two that bring a ton of new classes into the mix. While there are many within the pack itself to play, such as the Red Mage, for those Final Fantasy fans out there, the Preacher, and the Dragon Prince, there are two in particular that I'd like to take a closer look at. One of my favorite game series before it became too, bogged down, was the Final Fantasy series. And in this series, there's one character I've always loved in particular, that being Kain. I loved his complex character within Final Fantasy IV, and he's one of those characters that I've always loved the look of. His jump skill always felt unique, with the ability to leap out of battle and come back down the next turn, saving him from damage, although letting the rest of the party take the hit for him. Kain, unlike your black mages and warriors, is classified as a Dragoon, which brings us back to Torchlight 2. The Dragoon class is a hit and run class that focuses on burst of damage, health steal, and timely escapes. This was one of the first new classes that I played of all the new classes that I tried, and it was one of the ones that I kept on getting drawn to when I was finishing up this video. The Dragoon has a strong emphasis on dexterity and strength, along with the use of the two-handed polearm. It's an offensive class, and basically wants to do as much damage as possible in a short amount of time. He'd rather dodge the hit than take it, or find some way to avoid the hit altogether. If you're looking for defense, it ain't here, as there aren't many defensive skills available, and those usually have a catch along with them. No, the Dragoon stands out due to its hit and run tactics, and taking back health from the enemy. A copy of the Berserker's Blood Hunger skill, the Invigorate skill returns a percentage of the maximum health on a critical hit, and like the Berserker, this works well with the Dragoon's charge skill. When the charge bar is full, all direct attacks are guaranteed critical hits, so at full charge, you may be gaining health for all the damage that you are taking. However, unlike the Berserker, what separates the Dragoon is the high jump skill. The high jump skill makes the Dragoon jump to a location, coming down in the area, dealing burst magical damage in a radius based on a range for the tier you're at, knocking back and possibly stunning enemies. It's one of the most useful skills in the Dragoon's arsenal, similar to the Ember Mage's Frost Phase, but for the Dragoon, I feel like it's his bread and butter. It can be used offensively, to get the initial stun on the enemy and allowing you to get that damage outburst to start up, to get the combos going, to get that precious charge, to get the crits going. Or it can be used defensively, to get out of a hairy situation, especially in the Synergies mod, where the enemies can easily overwhelm you. Heck, it can be used as a time saver, to jump to a cliff that you would have had to walk around to get to. The Dragoon is strongly symbolized by his trademark jumping ability. Several of the skills for the Dragoon focus on a combo system. You start off the combo with a level 1 combo skill, and have 3 seconds to follow up the skill with a level 2 skill. Then you have 3 seconds to follow the level 2 with a level 3 combo skill. There are 3 skills of each of the 3 levels in question, allowing you to mix and match the skills in question to create the combo that you want. For example, you could start with an Ice Breath to possibly freeze your enemies in place and weaken their defenses. Follow up with a Vorpal Thrust to knock them back if they aren't already immobilized by the Frost Breath and possibly stun them, and then finish them off with an Electrical Storm of damage, weakening their resistance to physical damage. Or maybe you want to do my favorite combo. Start with a basic jump attack to start generating charge and doing damage, then launch a series of Thunder Spikes to gain a critical hit chance on the enemies it hits. Finally, finish off with a Dragon Strike that rips apart armor, interrupts your enemies, and generates even more charge. Again, a lot of these skills help the Dragoon's hit and run tactics by either focusing on dodging damage, killing the enemy very quickly, or stopping your enemies from attacking or chasing altogether. Each encounter can be exhilarating because of that, as if you don't pay attention, you'll find yourself overwhelmed and dead. But such is the life of the Dragoon, and it's fun as hell for it. Let's take a look at a different class, made by Nifel, and I apologize if I got the pronunciation wrong. Let's start off by this. Within the skill tree of this class, there's a reset skill tree option. Wish there was that in the other trees. Strange, right? Well, it sort of makes sense given the kind of class this is. The Elemental Blade Dancer is a dual weapon user, and it's a key part of the class. Shield? What's a shield? All the direct skills in the class require dual wield melee. There are 4 trees within the class, and they are of course the 4 basic elements of the game. Inferno Blades for fire, Storm Blades for electric, Tempest Blades for ice, and Nether Blades for poison. Each skill tree focuses on a certain aspect and fight style that can change how you fight enemies. The Inferno Blade tree is offensive, hoping to get rid of your opponent's defense. Meteor Dash makes you fly forward with fire damage while weakening the enemy's armor. Infernal State boosts your strength and damage output. Magma Pulse hopes to stun your enemies and deal some damage as well. Doom does massive damage, but it allows you to recover health while hovering in the air with a potion or two. Cataclysm is the ultimate fire output. It pulls your targets to you, blinds them, and deals massive fire damage over time. Its passive skills are to counterattack enemies, as well as boosting strength and giving chances to break an enemy's shield. Offense is the name of the game for the Inferno Blade. Meanwhile, the Stormblades go for speed and disorientation. Discharge does close electrical damage, but can hit multiple targets and gain 5% attack speed for a period of time for each of the enemies hit, up to a 25% boost. Static Rush hopes to rush in and stun your opponent while doing some electrical damage on the side. Azure Flash launches an electrical orb that at full strength will stun your opponent and can bounce off and hit additional enemies. Dazzling State boosts your attack speed and your electrical damage for a buff. Thunderstorm brings, well, a storm that will deal damage over time and boost your overall attack. Its passive bonuses deal with damage bonuses while dual wielding, attack speed boosts, focus boosts, and interrupt chance boosts. The Tempest Blades are the most defensive of the blade choices, and are based on ice. Absolute Zero does ice damage and can mobilize a target. Blizzard slows the opponent and decreases the opponent's damage. Bastion can reduce your damage taken and comes with health recovery, although at lower levels will decrease your speed. Glacial State will improve your ice damage and reduce the damage taken. And the ultimate spell, Heavenly Burst, will deal damage, heal you, and freeze and mobilize your opponent. Its passive skills include reflecting missiles and improving physical armor, as well as improving vitality and helping with slow resistance. Finally, the Tempest Blades focuses on lifesteal and poison. Ambush does poison damage, allows for lifesteal, and may stun your target. Netherstorm summons a stationary rotating damager that increases damage while enemies are in its range and helps minions of yours do damage. Annihilation lets you teleport into your enemy, silence them, and do poison damage as well as lifesteal. Dark State improves your poison damage and helps take life from your opponent. Cruelty is the ultimate damager, letting you be untargetable for a brief period of time, partially allows lifesteal, and poison damage all over the place. Passive skills include being able to spawn netherlings from your kills, increasing your movement speed, and upping your dexterity. Alright, I've given a bunch of skills here, but what does it all mean? The thing is that you can really mix and match these skills, letting you really experiment with combinations. What I really like to do is really use 2 trees at a time, switch weapons to what skills I was using at the time. To have 2 sets of weapons works really well here, especially with the fact that all the skill trees use dual wield melee, so a ranged weapon doesn't make sense in the second slot. Want to be a quick lifestealer? Go for a combo of electric and nether. Want to go for damage output? Go strictly fire. Find an even better weapon that specializes in ice damage? Change immediately. There were several times where I was having a specific group problem, where I was having problems with a specific group of enemies. I would just reset my skill tree, change up my style a little bit, and all of a sudden I was doing better. The Haknslash package that includes these 2 classes has some extra bits in it. Little adjustments have gone a long way to help make things easier. Pretty Damage, for example, makes it easier to see the damage you are doing and format it in a nicer way. Beams of Light come down on legendary and unique items to signify that, yeah, they're special. More pets have been added. Wanted to have a claptrap or a human follower? There are additional choices all over the place. Even the bosses are available as possible companions. At the core, one of the most exciting things about Torchlight 2 is loot. We're a hoarding society, but more so we want the shiniest, biggest, and best of everything that we could possibly get. While there's a lot of loot in Torchlight 2, it wasn't as good as it could be. Enter Wayback, RNF, and Mamba, who made LAO 2.0. The mod is about loot. It adds over 15,000 items into the game. It may not be a bajillion guns like Borderlands 2 claim, but it's definitely filled up the world with more items for the user to find. Some adjustments have been made to help balance some of the more underpowered weapons. Two-handed weapons in particular have been getting a boost, as in the unmodded Torchlight, the trade-off for dual weaponry versus two-handed hardly justified using the two-handed weapons. Now there's 30 to 40% damage boosts to the two-handed weapons to help compensate for that. There's also new levels of equipment, including legendary weapons and unique sets with their own color coding. You'll find that the weapons, armors, and trinkets here are a lot more powerful and a lot more fun, and a lot more unique than that. There are more affixes and names and descriptions that make the weapons more unique as well. Drop rates have been adjusted so that it happens a little bit more often, but nothing too crazy. There's a variety of new equipment and new weapons along with it. Ever felt that Torchlight 2 needed a chainsaw sword? Well, that's been added. There's references all over the place, references to old movies, characters, video games, and various other things. I found myself even looking at the green loot drops in questions despite being decked out in legendary armor, just to look to see if there were new models or references that I had missed. Torchlight 2 has become an entirely new game for me. From the challenge to the loot, it has become a new experience, one that everyone should give a try to. The mods in question in this video will be in the links below through the Steam Workshop. Additional links to sites related to the mods in questions by the developer will also be available. I thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Any comments, feedback, or any other mods that you think should be highlighted would be appreciated to leave in the comment section below. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you later.